Greetings, my name is Dough like cookie dough, and I'm back. My good friend Leandro sent me a new track, and I thought that, wow, this is too good not to do something right away with. So I decided that I'm finally gonna put out this next video that I've been sitting on for about 2 months now. I asked people on Instagram for questions, PG-13, but before that, as you can see behind me, my 150p is going well. I added in cardinal tetras and neon tetras. Come here. As I was saying, the cardinal tetras, they were a little bit on the small side, and what happened was when I added them in, not only were they small, but they weren't as strong, and I think that the angelfish hunted them down basically. They were the first fish in the tank, and I think they got used to being the bosses, and anything that can fit in their mouth, they're gonna take. I tested my theory by adding in some neon tetras, and I actually saw one angelfish suck in a neon tetra like it was nothing. So yeah, if you have big fish already and you're adding in small fish, try to get larger ones that can't fit in their mouths. Otherwise, be careful. Yeah, it's been going really well. All right, so on to the questions. The first question is from Brian Hux Ing, and he asks, can plants grow well without CO2? Good question. I think they can grow, but I think they grow best with CO2. So I have a lot of low-tech tanks. Although I plant them and I use stems, I usually only get 1 or 2 different types of stems that really thrive in each tank, and it's always different. Once I find the stem that thrives, I just keep cutting it and propagating it until it fills up the entire tank. So if you follow me on Instagram, you're gonna see that a lot of my low-tech tanks have really similar plants just because those are the ones that I found work best. Next question from Darth_Scaper. Favorite fish and plant? My favorite plant is Bovitis. You can see that I have a ton of it in this tank. My favorite fish, my angel fish right now are my favorite fish, and it's one that I wanted for a while. I'm glad that most of them are still alive. There's 11 of them. Next question from nature.magnified. Do you have any marine/saltwater aquascapes? If not, would you consider it? I don't yet, but I want to. The problem is, like with anything in life, you need to save up for it, you need to plan it, you need to make sure everything is going right before you can really do what you want. So there's a lot of stuff I still need to do. For example, I still need to decorate the garage and make it look more welcoming and inviting, and that's gonna take a bunch of money. So I have to do all of these little things first before I can enter the marine world, which I know is gonna be even more expensive than the freshwater world. So yeah, the only thing stopping me is money. So I'm praying that I win the lottery. Next question. The_twist_2435 asks, will you ever set up a vivarium for dart frogs? I do want to. This is the same hurdle I have to overcome with saltwater. I just don't have time or the funds right now to do it, but I do want to one day. Next question. May the month asks, how did you get into this hobby? I got into this hobby 5 or 6 years ago by just watching videos first. I was really inspired. It's just so green, so beautiful. It's like creating art. Yeah, I was just struck by the beauty of it all. I used to watch ADA videos. I also watch a lot of Green Machine. James Finley, he put out a lot of stuff, and right when I got into this hobby, the Green Machine kind of closed down, so I was like, oh darn it, I missed out. And then when I really got into it, Takashi Amano passed away, and I'm like, oh darn, I missed another person that I really wanted to continue following and speak to one day, possibly. I dreamt about it, and then when I had all my ducks in a row and I could afford it, I got my first tank. I was deciding between a Brio 35, which is like an aquaponics system, versus the 8860p, and at the time, I felt like the Brio 35 looked better in my living room, so I decided to get that instead. But I very soon, shortly after, thought that I should have just went with the 60p. So I regret my decision back then. Just get what you want first, and you'll save money in the long run. Did I answer your question, how did I get into this hobby? I watched a lot of videos. I got really inspired because I was always into art. When I could afford it, I just took I took one step in, and now I have all of these aquariums, and I'm like a crazy aquarium or crazy fish person. Next question. Matt's Aquarium asks, what is your secret to maintaining all of your tanks and balancing that with your day? I only have 2 tanks with injected CO2. And that's because when you add CO2 to your tanks, everything grows way too fast, and there's so many more things to watch out for and to balance. So it's not as difficult as you think it would be to manage all of these aquariums. Once you find the balance for one tank, you can kind of push it along and go with it for an extended period of time without any issues. So most of my nano tanks don't have CO2, and I don't really do much for them other than like once a month change the water, once or twice a month change the water, trim here and there, scrape the algae walls. Honestly, I'm not spending that much time. The secret is to get the balance for one tank before you move on to another tank. And then once you find that balance there, that pretty much is like cruise control. You can just keep going with it without doing anything. So to clarify, I probably spend maybe 10 minutes a day down here to feed and to do stuff. It's not that much work. I wish that I could have this in my living room, but honestly, it's just the thought of potentially flooding the place because of my mistakes or anything like that kind of terrifies me. So it's probably safer that I'm in the garage anyway. Next question is from Unsophisticated. Who would win in a fight, 3 angelfish or 18 neon tetras? So are we talking about like 3 full-grown angelfish versus 18 full-grown neon tetras? If watching nature documentaries is any sign of who would win, I think that there would be no fight at all because no one wants to die, and it's better to be safe than to be dead. If a fight really had to occur, I'm gonna put my money on the angelfish. I don't know if you guys seen the giant hornets fighting, destroying a bee colony, but bigger fish with hunting instincts, really strong hunting instincts, could just totally crush any other type of fish, I would think, that are that much smaller than them. Next question from Gideon Sudika. Sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing foreign names. Do you keep your lights at 100% brightness? Yes, I only know one mode, and that's hard mode. There's no dimming. I just use all the lights at 100%, and I just do my best to find a balance for each tank. Next question. How many scapes do you own, and are they all filtered? Right now I have I have 12 tanks running, and all of them have filters on them. I need to downsize. Next question. CD_nature projects asks, what draws you to the plants you choose for your scapes? I am really drawn to low-tech plants. The reason being is that I always kill everything that's too expensive. I learned my lesson. I keep buying all of these nice things and they keep dying on me. So I'm not ready to take that leap to buying more pretty plants just because it's too much of a risk right now. I'd rather do something that's safe so I don't have to stress about like buying something that's $20 and losing it all just because I wasn't careful enough. So I stick with Java ferns, bobitis, any stems that are green, low-tech plants. So anything easy on the tropical charts, I would consider. Next question. Katie's.underwaterworld asks, how much do you spend on the hobby a year? Caps, LOL. At first I spent a lot, but lately I've been able to propagate from what I currently have and just reuse old materials, not really have to spend much at all. I think this year, if I had to put a price on it, I probably spend like $1,000 at most. Don't forget to set money aside so that you can make mistakes and buy what you want, which is fish stuff. Next question. TMK_Aquarius asks, what's the end goal of the hobby if there is one? Whoa. That's a really good question. What is the end goal? I think the end goal of any hobby, not just this one, is to be happy. I used to be a very skeptical and angry and not so happy person, and I didn't like the way I used to be. So I decided that I was going to be a different person. End goal is to be happy. No matter what you get in life, you're always going to want something else. So it's important to be present, be grateful for what you have, and just really decide what it is that you're willing to work hard for. I actually spoke to my friend about that today, and that's actually his words. What are you willing to work hard for? And for me, the end goal is to be happy. And if I can do this every day and just have fun with it, then I think that I am achieving my goal already of being happy. Louisville Aquascaping asks, when are you going to sit down and write that book? I'm sure plenty of people would read. Thank you for asking about my book. I think I have imposter syndrome a little bit. I don't feel like I'm ready to tell other people what to do yet or how to do it. So I've been kind of feeling like no one's gonna really read my book. It's only gonna be something that's for fun. And if it's for fun, then I'm gonna wait until I'm really happy with it. Because if I put something out there like a book, it's kind of like a representation of my whole person, from the design to what I say to just everything in it. It's just me, right? So I just want to make sure that I'm being the most authentic me at the time of. So I'm like really close. I have like 80% of it done, but the last portions are like more aquascaping related, like guides to help you set up your tank. Not guides, but like things that I think about when I set up a tank and how I decide what to do. And part that I'm stuck on is what are the lessons and what do people really need to know that works for me, that I think people should need to know. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to build up the confidence to really put myself out there. But this is something that I still have my eyes set on, and I still want to do it. So thank you for keeping me and checking up on me here and holding me accountable. Next question. JFriends4438. He asks, where do you get your hardscape and plants from? So I'm from Vancouver. I usually look all around for plants. I would, if you're not sure where to start and you're not from Vancouver, I would say always check local forums, check online stores. Usually if you're in the US, shipping is a lot more convenient and more of a realistic possibility. Just check everywhere, really, like any fish store. If you ask, they'll more than likely have what you're looking for, or they can bring it in, but you might have to pay a little bit to do that. In terms of hardscape, no matter where I go, I'm always looking. So the gravel that you see in this tank, I actually found that when I was helping my partner look for her own gardening stuff. And I was like, oh, this looks so good, where did you get it? And she just bought this at like Home Depot or something. And now I use like pea gravel from Home Depot for like $9 and I love it, right? You just have to be on the lookout everywhere for everything. Next question. Channing Miskell. Hey Channing. Channing is a great guy, by the way. If you don't follow him on Instagram already, I'm gonna put his handle like right here or something, and then go follow him. PG-13 can get pretty risque, he says. He didn't ask any questions, so I'm gonna say yes it can. Next question. Crafty123 asks, who/what got you into hobby and what/who inspires yours today? I think I answered this question earlier, but the Green Machine and Takashi Amano were the two main people or entities that got me into this hobby. Just really clean, simple, clear designs, always good music, always very insightful. They're amazing, especially Takashi Amano. I can't speak for who he is as a person, but just based on his work and his biography and everything that he's done, I feel like he is someone that just went for his dreams, and I really respect passionate people. And he also asked, what is your favorite tank size and why? My favorite tank size is the 88 Mini M. I think it's like 36 centimeters by 24 by 18. It's just this tank that you can be so creative in with with all kinds of materials. Most things that you can buy, like most hardscape that you can buy from stores, will are not that big and will fit into the 5-gallon really nicely. So that's my favorite size, the mini M. All right, next question. HealingAss, how can I get started in aquascaping? If you already have your tank and you're just looking to figure out like what to do afterwards, I recommend looking for aquascapes that you really love and copying them. At first, it's always going to be really hard to come up with your own ideas, but as you copy other people's aquascapes and you figure out how things work and what to do, you're going to practice the basic skills that will help you come up with your own ideas later. So copy other people. Copy, but don't claim it as your own idea. All right, next question. Nerd.scape asks, is that a ZZ plant on the right? So yes, it is a ZZ plant. I'm going to link the photo that he's asking about right here. I really love houseplants. I'm thankful that I don't have to take care of them. I just get to look at them and take photos of them. My partner is really good at taking care of that. Next question. James.dutuit.58 asks, what substrate and or fertilizer do you use for your plants? Very new into planted tanks. I always use what I think is repeatable so that I don't have to worry about whether something is going to work or not. So my substrate of choice is 88 Amazonia. I don't mind using other things, but it's just like a comfy home cooked meal. Like this is the thing that you can always use, and always expect like similar results and not be too disappointed with. Next question from Glass Canvas Art. He asks, who's your favorite aquascaper? Not including Amano. My favorite aquascaper has to be Masashi Ono. I'm gonna put his aquascapes here, and maybe a couple other places if I can fit it. I just feel like his style is the one I look up to the most. It's very impactful and natural at the same time. It's something that I also want to do, so I'm very inspired by him. Every year, I always look forward to seeing what he puts out for the IAPLC contest. I'm always curious. I just really love the vibe that his aquascapes give off. He's a great guy too. He's very kind. Next question. WJH Drew asks, how many tanks are you going to downsize to? Well, I keep saying I'm going to downsize tanks, but I actually have more tanks now than I did before, so I can't answer that question. I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. All I can do is focus on right now and what I have to get done right now. Sorry. Next question. Matt.Longshaw asks, how did you first get into aquascaping? I think I answered that earlier. Yes, I did. There was a question like this earlier. I first got into aquascaping after watching videos and getting super addicted to watching them and wanting to create that peaceful Zen vibe that I got from them. In my younger years, I just felt like I was not, I didn't get the software update to life until recently. I got the hardware update at puberty, but my mind wasn't quite there until now. Next question from David Collins. Hey David, how do you stay motivated when escape doesn't turn out like you hoped? Well, if escape doesn't turn out like I hoped, I just start over most of the time. Otherwise, I think that giving up is not an option. It might look ugly for a while, but usually it always gets better over time. If something doesn't work out the way I want it to, I just keep trying until it does look the way I want to. So I think it's not about staying motivated, but it's remembering why you're in this hobby, right? It's to have fun. It's great to be able to sit down and just enjoy an aquascape, but it's also really fun to challenge yourself and try to make something that looks beautiful and that other people would appreciate. You got this, David. Next question from Stormtrooper Bunny. Where do you order / buy your fish from? I think you're located in the US, if I remember correctly, and where I buy stuff from is not going to be helpful for you. So if I were you and I was in the US, I know there's a ton of Facebook groups, and there's also Buse Plant and also Aquaforest Aquarium. There's a lot of online stores, and that's where I would turn to first. Next question from Zoye _escape. I think I said that right. What's my favorite plant? Bobitis. Growing over there. Next question from _planted tank. How do you shoot your awesome pictures / camera settings, or what are your camera settings? So For all my photos, I always pre-process in Photoshop to make sure I remove any weird smudges or get rid of random dots. A lot of times I edit in Photoshop first and then finish it in the Instagram editor, which is amazing. But if you guys want advice on like how to use your camera, there's 3 main settings on your camera. There's your f-stop, your shutter speed, and your ISO. So the whole point of all of this is to control light. For example, if you don't have enough light, one thing that you can do to make sure you have more light is to increase your ISO. But as a result of increasing your ISO, your photo is going to be grainy. A lot of my photos are grainy just because I don't have that much light in here. It's just something I don't mind and I just accept it. The next thing is your f-stop. So the lower your f-stop, like f2.8, the more light you let in. But as a result, there's less in focus. So the higher f-stop, like f8 or f10 or f10 plus, everything is going to be crisp and clear. So that's the other way to control light. The last way is your shutter speed. So when you take photos of fish, you always want a quicker shutter speed or else the fish moves too fast and it becomes blurry. So that's my main issue as well. I always have to increase my shutter speed in order to get all the fish crisp, but as a result I don't have enough light and so forth. So I usually keep lower shutter speed, like 1 over 150 or 1 over 175, whatever the numbers are, and adjust my f-stop and my ISO. So those are the 3 things: ISO, f-stop, and shutter speed. All right, next question. How expensive is it to do a 75-gallon heavily planted tank? I have the tank already. I mean, it could be as cheap or expensive as you want it to be. You just got to get creative and find people who are like doing a tank teardown and selling a ton of stems for like a very small amount. Usually people in that situation, like I find myself in that situation a lot, I just want to get rid of my stems and I'll put it at a fraction of the cost of what all of these stems would cost. So do what you need to do and find and just be opportunistic. Early bird gets the worm. It's true. That was a question from Mr. Photo NYC. Next question. What is your water change schedule? For my large tank, I'm just going to speak about my large tank for now. I try to do a 25% water change a couple days a week. It doesn't always happen. I think water changes are something that I do everything by feel. That's why I really have a hard time answering this question. When I feel that the tank is dirty, when I feel like the fish aren't happy, when I feel like the tank needs this, that's when I do something. There's no schedule or anything like that. It's all very like haphazard. That's not a good answer, but that's how I work. Next question from Great Northern Scapes. Hey Spencer, what is your main goal / aspiration with this hobby? I think my main goal is to do well in a contest. I know it doesn't really make or break or change my life, but it's just like a challenge I give myself. Placing number 1. It might not happen ever, but you know, I can keep trying, and if I somehow create something beautiful, then it will be recognized as such. I think those are all the questions. Thank you everyone for helping me make this video fun, and I'll see you next time.